So Infinite Forbidden has finally been revealed in a gigantic extravaganza that Konami just put on to further celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. And they showed some stuff that was so absolutely insane, I can't even squeeze it all into one video, so I'll probably drop another one on Monday talking about that. What's up YouTube, Capital G here. In this video, we are going to be talking about the Infinite Forbidden core booster set. That is going to be the booster set that is following Legacy of Destruction, and surprise, this is actually a DM themed set. Now, I say surprise because since Konami disconnected the mainline anime series from the core booster set, they've basically just juggled the 6 series, and they've never gone back to back. You know, sometimes there's a pattern, sometimes there is not, but they've never gone back to back with one series, and this time they have. Now, when I heard Forbidden, you know, I'm thinking maybe like Exodia, because there's a couple of keywords. Like anytime I hear Phantom in a set, I'm like, Yubel, you know, Phantom Nightmare, Phantom Darkness, you kind of think of like Yubel and stuff like that. And it's really interesting because we're going back to Exodia. We have not had Exodia be the cover card of a booster set in a very long time. If my memory serves me, it was Dark Crisis during the DM era. I think that was Exodia Necros, and that should be what, I think Gozabora used that against Kaiba, or maybe it was against Yugi back in the DM era. It was a long time ago. But yeah, we got Exodia back. This time around, it is a fusion Exodia monster, which I was kind of wondering. I was like, wait a minute, are we going to use the 5 pieces of Exodia as fusion materials? And sure enough, that's exactly what we're doing. This is Exodia Incarnate. It's a level 10 Dart spellcaster. Question mark attack, 0 defense. I feel like the question mark attack is kind of on brand, and so is the, or so are the materials, which are the 5 pieces of Exodia. You're going to use every single piece. This bad boy has 5 different effects. If that doesn't scream 2024 monster, I don't know what does. None of them are hard once per turn, so it kind of gets crazy if you get multiple discard on the field. First one, can't be destroyed on the field by your opponent's card effects. Second effect, once per turn, if this card battles during damage calculation, its attack equals your current life points. So ideally, you know, drop this card when you have 8,000 life points and you have an 8,000 attacker, which can technically, it can actually just one-shot your opponent. Like literally, you attack directly for 8,000, you just win the duel. Third effect is what you want in every good boss monster, Omni Negation. Once per turn, when a spell / trap or effect is activated, quick effect, you can negate that activation. You love to see that on a big boss monster. I love it, Konami. I love it. Effect number 4, during the end phase, you can set 1 Exodo spell / trap or obliterate directly from your deck. We've got a couple of those that just got revealed as well. And then fifth effect, once per turn during the standby phase, lose 1,000 life points. So obviously, you're supposed to have a short duel. Drop this bad boy on the field, try to do as much damage as possible. On the follow-up turn, you should be winning because your life points should still ideally be at like 7,000. You have a 7,000 attack monster. You've had multiple turns of Omni Negation of negating your opponent's spells and traps. There's no reason why this card should be on the field 4 or 5 turns. At that point, it's like you probably messed up or something like that. Now, obviously, whenever you talk about a fusion, and don't get me wrong, that card is very, very strong. You get 2 layers, you get Omni Negation, you get a layer of protection because he can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. But like all fusion monsters that aren't contact based really do kind of, they kind of boil down to like, how do you summon them? What are their fusion spells? Like, how good is it? And even though this card isn't a fusion spell because it doesn't have fusion in the word, I assume because they don't want it to be searchable, it is basically a fusion spell, and it's actually incredible. This is Millennium Cross. It's how you summon the Exodia Incarnate. It says it's a normal spell. Take 5 pieces of Exodia or 5 forbidden monsters from your hand, deck, or face-up field. You reveal them to your opponent. Then you summon the Exodia Incarnate from your extra deck. You then shuffle all face-up monsters you control into the deck, except Exodia monsters whose original level was 10 or higher, or Millennium monsters. You can't summon at all for the rest of the turn, but you can normal set, and then after the activation, you shuffle this card back into the deck instead of putting it in the graveyard. This card is absolutely insane. And honestly, when I saw the new Exodia Fusion, I was like, man, there's no way they're going to let us summon that from one card, you know, like a branded fusion type card or something. Sure enough, that's exactly what they're doing here. You activate Millennium Cross you open your deck up, you just show your opponent the Exodia pieces, and then you just shuffle this card back and you get your Exodia fusion. What's kind of crazy about this card is, unless I'm misunderstanding it, this card cannot be Ash Blossom, because at no point are you trying to send anything to the graveyard. Not even the card itself goes to the graveyard. You just reveal the cards to your opponent and then you summon your new Exodia. So yeah, you get an Exodia with Omni Negation and Protection, who should ideally come out at 8,000 attack, and you only have to use a single card. Now, I do know you have to run the bricks, Cap, Cap, people are gonna say, Cap G, I gotta run the Exodia bricks. There's no way of getting around that. Like, there just isn't. But I think that these cards are kind of incredible. We have our Exodo Spells and Traps. Exodo Blaze is our quick play. It gives a level 10 or higher monster you control with Exodia in its original name the following effects. So you can pay half your life points, and if you do, you can activate cards or effects for the rest of the turn. You destroy as many cards in the spells and trap zones as possible, and then you put the Exodia pieces from your hand or deck into these spell and trap zones as equips, and then your monster gains 2,000 attack. Or if your monster attacks a defense position monster, you get piercing damage. I think that this card is mainly going to be used for that piercing effect, because like the first effect is a heavy storm, and I get that that's a really good out to like floodgates and stuff like that, so maybe you'll use it for that purposes. But just keep in mind, if you are paying your life points in half, you're directly cutting your Exodia Incarnate's attack down. So like, this is probably a card, like you only want to use that effect, I would assume, if you're either gonna game your opponents, or like you're in a bad position where your opponent has like skill drain or something like that, and you're like, okay, Cap, this is my only way of outing the skill drain or of outing this floodgate that makes it so I'm not really doing much. So use that card, I guess, mainly as utility or just like to end the game. The next one is Exodo Flame. Normal trap card, hard once per turn on both the effects. The first effect just says, if you control a level 10 or higher Exodia monster, board wipe your opponent, destroy all cards your opponent controls. Who doesn't love that, especially considering you set that from the deck? So if you summon your Exodia Incarnate and you don't win that turn, I would assume you just want to go for this. Like, just set it directly from your deck. You already have a board wipe on deck that is chainable, so like that's pretty good. If your opponent tries to use like a lightning storm or threaten it, you just omni negate it. You just negate that card and like, cool, I still got a board wipe. What are you gonna do about it? The second effect is just a way kind of to recycle your Forbidden One pieces. You can banish this card from the graveyard except the turn it was sent there. You either add a Forbidden One monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, or you shuffle your Exodia pieces from your graveyard or your banishment back into your deck. Obviously, they're doing that so that you can activate another copy of Cross, because if some of your Exodia pieces are in your hand and, I don't know, somehow they get sent to the graveyard, maybe your opponent pulls off some cheeky card destruction or some cheese like that, you don't want to make it so that you don't have a way of getting your Exodia pieces back. This is just a way of getting them back in the deck. And then we have some new cards as well, and these cards are Millennium cards that all kind of just support this archetype, or I guess this theme. Now we have the Millennium side of this Exodia theme, and I'm not going to read each card individually because that'd be a little monotonous. Also, I do want to save some time, but these cards all kind of work the same. They revolve around the same principle. Their first effect allows them to put themselves in the spell and trap zone as a continuous spell, and then their second effect allows them to summon themselves by either paying 2,000 life points or revealing Millennium Cross. Keep in mind, Millennium Cross is the spell card we talked about. It's basically the fusion spell for Exodia. You can reveal that card, or you can just pay 2,000 life points and you get to special summon all the Millennium cards. When you special summon them, they have effects that trigger. Some of these monsters have a little bit of protection, like they can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Some of them just like have a Rhoda ability. One of them, like the shield, searches another copy of Millennium Cross for like your next turn. And then you have some illusionists, and with the illusion monsters, you're going to get, kind of that effect where I can't be destroyed by battle, you can't be destroyed by battle, etc., etc. They seem basically like they're just cards to kind of help swarm. There's only one of them. See, I'm a little, I don't know. I don't know exactly how I feel about these cards, because I don't like the idea of paying 2,000 life points. I guess if you're really trying to rush your opponent down and you feel like you can kill your opponent without your Exodia being at its highest attack, that's fine. Because keep in mind, again, when you're paying those life points, you are decreasing the attack value of your Exodia Incarnate. So you have to make up that damage somewhere. You don't want a game that drags out. You want to end the game as quickly as possible. And only one of them gives you the ability to gain life points. So there's not a lot of ways of gaining life points in this archetype. We have a field spell, which is the Temple of the Stone Slabs. And all the effects are like, well, just the first effect is a hard once per turn. During your main phase, you can place a monster from your hand into the spell and trap zone as a continuous spell, and then you can place a Millennium monster from your deck in the spell and trap zone. And then the second effect says if a Millennium monster or a Syngegen you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can place it in the spell and trap zone as a continuous spell instead of sending it to the graveyard. So I guess a way of just like setting up for your next turn. These are, I don't know, I don't like this side, the Millennium side, quite as much as I just do the Exodia side, especially considering like you do have to run Exodia, like you have to run the original 5 pieces of Exodia. So we're already going to have to commit to the Exodia pieces and Millennium Cross to summon our fusion. I feel like you're probably only going to run a couple of these cards, but they're interesting nonetheless. Anyways, what do you guys think of all of this new Exodia support? I think the fusion and essentially like the fusion spell, the Millennium Cross, I feel like they knocked it out of the park with those cards. Usually cover cards are just terrible and you don't really summon them that much, but I don't know. I mean, one card Exodia 8,000 attack monster with spell and trap negation and destruction protection sounds pretty spicy, even if I do have to run a bunch of bricks. Anyways, I'll be sure to try to put some of the card effects on the screen so that you guys can read them verbatim. But you guys let me know what you thought of this support and this entire celebration, as again, I will be covering more of this throughout the following days. Thank you guys for watching as always.